In today's video, we'll be ranking the best and worst hero equipment in Clash of Clans. Let's get right into it. With Clash of Clans' newest addition to the game, the hero equipment being added to the game, you're probably seeing a lot of people post videos on what is the best hero equipment from D to S tier, and I thought I'd give my opinions on what is the best to worst, and this is going to be based on information that I've played with and tested with them. All of them are really good. However, there are of course going to be some are much more stronger compared to others. So the first one I want to get into is, of course, the Archer Puppet. I think this is honestly a C tier actual hero equipment. It's not the top of C tier, and the reason why is because it gives your Archer Queen, of course, some health when she activates it, but on top of that too, she summons up to 30 units if you get towards near the max level, plus also more damage. Now, it isn't like an insane damage boost. Like for me right now at level 15, it's only like 132, but the big thing about this and why it's such a below the C tier, it's only because of the fact that the archers can pretty much get one-shotted by a mortar, by a scatter shot, and by the time you pop this ability, you're trying to get the health recovery. So like if you're in the middle of the base, the archers are not going to last more than a few seconds. So that's why it's actually on the bottom of C tier. Next up, we got the Warden's Life Gem. So this honest ability is pretty cool for the Warden because it gives the Warden's health back. However, that's the only thing going good for it. So it's the bottom of D tier. And it's one of those things like, yeah, you can pop it, you get off the rip when you get into Town Hall 11, it's pretty good. But honestly, his other ability for his Warden's Eternal Tomb is so much better by like a far long shot that it's just not even gonna, like, there's not much to say about the Life Gem, to be completely honest with you. Next up, we got the Barbarian Puppet. I would say this is the top of C tier. It's better than the archers because they're gonna last longer, and usually you don't send your king inside the base unless you're using the giant gauntlet to clear through things. But this is kind of just good to create openings and just take off buildings and stuff like that that would be normally in the way. And with the Barbarians being able to clean up more than just the king alone, you of course get the health recovery, plus you get on top of the 30 plus units depending on what level it is. Like at level 13 I get like 36, which is pretty good. And of course you get a damage increase, not damage increase, you get another health increase, hit point increase, which honestly, recovery, hit point increase, they're both practically the same thing. But I think why this is better than the actual archers is because even if the king does go in the middle of the base, the barbarians will last significantly longer, and they can also get picks. Next up, we got the Royal Gem. I would put this on the bottom of B tier because the same thing with actually like the Warden's Gem, where it like health increases, all that stuff, which is pretty cool. But actually this one gives a damage bonus on top of it too, so like increases that level 15 like 90 damage, which is pretty good, just a little bit more damage on top of everything. Plus the actual health recovery covers pretty much 50% of her health actually back, which is absolutely insane. I feel like it's one of those abilities right now that's unnecessary for the Royal Champion. However, I feel like once they release more hero equipment for her, because she only has 2 right now, when they do that, it'll be actually insane. I feel like this will get replaced really fast. Next up, we got the Healer's Puppet. I would say this is in between the bottom of B tier and also the top of B tier. It's one of those things that's really cool. Like it literally gives you access to a Queen Walk later in the base. So if you're attacking somebody and you want to go on the base of the Queen, you want to get some picks on it, you can activate the Healer Puppet to get some healers from it, and you can save some housing space in your normal attack strategy. However, I don't feel like this actual ability is that strong because of the fact that the healers can spawn really in front of the Queen or behind the Queen, and if they spawn in front, they're just gonna get picked off. They spawn behind the Queen, it's gonna be good, but I feel like it's one of those things, if you combine it with like the giant arrow to go for some picks and then use the Queen to kind of clean it up, you can absolutely do it fit. But besides that though, I don't think it's the strongest actual hero equipment. Next up, we got the top of B tier, we got the Quake Boost. This ability is so good because literally it breaks any level wall at the base level, which is insane to think about, but also does 20% damage to up to being the max level, 50% damage of actual things hit with it, which is pretty crazy. It's like a earthquake spell 4 times all in one in a hero equipment, which is just super strong. And on top of that too, you get like a little damage bonus on top of it too, but it isn't like anything insane. I feel like it's one of those abilities though that has so much more potential to be absolutely insane, but I feel like it's only good when you actually have it at the max level. Now we got our first A tier hero equipment, which is the Rage Vial. This thing is so good. Literally just gives your king rage on top of it, plus a damage increased by over 145% or something depending on what your level is. Mine's that for level 13, but also health recovery for like 1000 plus health, which that in itself is a similar to the Royal Gem, where it gives so much health back, which is so strong about it. Plus it gives a actual movement increase too, so mine for level 13 is level 48, but of course can last up to 10 seconds. So it's like one of those abilities that's super strong. It isn't the strongest hero equipment in the game, but still one of those ones that's a very viable option to create a lot more opportunities than some other hero equipment. Next up on A tier, we have the Vampstash. Now this is honestly one of the new hero equipment that I think is a lot stronger when it's maxed out, but it's not gonna be that strong early on. If you combine it with certain things too, you can do some insane stuff. So like, for example here, Giant Gauntlet maxed out plus the Vampstash. The Vampstash will of course give him health back by over 200. Plus on top of that too, the actual Giant Gauntlet reduces damage by 50%. You see what I'm saying? And then of course it lasts as long as the attack's going, because this is a passive ability. You don't have to activate the King's ability for it to get the bonus from it. So it'll like consistently heal the King throughout the attack. And he could go really far with this, with the Giant Gauntlet too. So like there's a lot of things you can actually do with this. But there are of course some minor bonuses, like attack speed increase by like 12% for my level, and then like a damage increase. But the damage increase is so minor, it's not even worth it. The big thing with the Vampstash is really the health increase over time, recovering throughout the attack, which is pretty much a replacement for the Unicorn if you think about it. Next up in A tier, we have the Giant Arrow. This is honestly one of those abilities that's really cool, but also very one of those things that's not that strong once you realize how good it is. Like, it's good because it can actually go throughout the whole base, hit everything within a 1 tile radius. 1 tile, keep that in mind, which is pretty good in itself. It does over 1,000 projectile damage, which is crazy. Plus actually 40 damage for actually the Queen if she activates it on top of it. So like her attack's gonna get a little bit more damage on top, and then some healing. But the healing is only like over 100 hit points, so it's not that good. I think the big thing with this is that you can combine this with certain things to go for certain units or parts of the bases that you need to pick off, clear off. So maybe like the Inferno Towers are all lined up, you can shoot through them all, get a pick, which is pretty strong. But besides that though, I think it's one of those things that like, yeah, you'll activate here and there, but it's one of those things you gotta like monitor to actually get the usage out of it right. So I don't think it's the absolute strongest, but I do think it's one of those things that's like pretty good. I do think though it's a little bit on the overrated side though. Next up on the top of A tier, this is barely reaching S tier by the way, just want to quickly emphasize that, is the actual Rage Gem. This gives your Warden a rage ability around his aura, and of course this is passive, non-active, so you can literally just have this going all throughout your attack, which can give actually a bonus to actually damage. For mine at level 7, it's the 30% increase on damage, which is pretty nice. It also gives attack speed increase by 11%, and of course some other stuff too, and then a minor damage increase by a small margin. Same thing with like the Giant Arrow and some of the other stuff. It doesn't really give too much. That's the biggest part, what makes it strong, is the bonus on top of it for being a passive ability. But this is one of those things that I would say is so good if you utilize it to attack the rush through bases that are much more compact compared to bases that are much more wider. If a base wider, you might not want to use this, but it's still probably one of the best hero equipment in the game by far for the Warden. I think it's honestly could reach S tier, but the thing that's really holding it back is doesn't actually give a movement increase. It only gives a attack speed increase. I think that's what really hinders this actual ability. Then again, it would be a replacement for like the Rage Gem if you did actually do that though, so there's always something to keep in mind. Next up, we got our first S tier equipment. We got the actual Healing Tome. Now this thing is so strong but also so weak. Now the reason why I'm saying that is because at the beginning it doesn't really heal for that much. Like, yeah, you can activate the Warden's Eternal Tomb plus the actual ability, and of course this is an active ability, not a passive ability, so you have to activate to get the benefits from it. But at the base level it doesn't do enough to actually heal troops to max, especially like the maxed out troops. But if you do max out the actual thing, it does over 1,000 healing a second, which is just absolutely insane if you think about this, because literally you can go in the middle of a base, challenge it, and of course if they have like the town hall in the center and you want to just get through it, you of course activate the Warden's ability, drop a rage spell, they'll push through it, and of course even if they have the tornado trap, the gem will literally just, the tomb will literally just keep them alive through the whole process, which can easily clear up a base that is much more wider, that you need that clutch heal last second, and you don't bring heal spells because you need the rage spells to get through it faster. This is a one ability I would say like, yo, this thing requires a little bit more thought, a little bit more skill, but also when it's maxed out is so strong. That's why it's an S tier, just because it's so freaking good when you actually have it maxed out. Now it could go higher in S tier, but the thing with it is it's not a passive ability. If it was passive, it'd be broken, but then again they probably would change how the healing would work for it, so this is one thing to always keep in mind. Next up in S tier, we have the Invisibility Vial. I can't say it right for some reason. This hero ability is so good. It's like the must-have for the Queen every single time you use her, because not only does it give a health recovery of over like 500 hit points, which is pretty insane, but also gives extra damage by over 1,000 damage, which is just like so freaking strong. You can pick off certain things that might be annoying in the base, like Inferno Towers and stuff, or town halls, or go for a pick on troops and stuff like that. But the big thing is just kind of getting rid of bigger defenses that can actually get you a better position in the actual base. But the thing that really is clutch much so is the literally the invisibility fact that makes the troop invisible, not troop, hero, for a certain period of time, which is honestly so freaking good. If you combine this with like healers and stuff like 2 and rage, they can really full reset her, which is just so good. I love the invisibility file, and I think it's honestly the best hero equipment in the game, but honestly there's still better stuff in the game, so it's like, yeah. Next up in the S tier, we have the actual hero seeking shield. The royal champion seeking shield is one of those abilities that you can't really replace for her, because literally it one-shots most things with damage, because how much damage it does, like at the like level 15 does over 2,000 damage. So like, how are you gonna replace that? And it can hit up to 4 units or 4 targets. So literally can just pick off things like you see here where it hits Teslas, absolutely eviscerates them. It's one of those just abilities that's just so for good. Plus it gives a small health increase, not by a major amount, but I do feel like this is one of those abilities that's probably not going to get replaced for the royal champion until they release another hero equipment that has a little bit more power creep to it. Next up in S tier, we have the newest hero equipment, the actual giant gauntlet. This thing is just so busted, bro. Literally they released this and I read its abilities and then read max stats. I was like, this thing is actually insane. Like at the base level it doesn't do too much. It does give a damage reduction to the king and stuff, which is pretty insane by itself, but it also increases the kings to a massive size, which can be huge for pushing through bases, plus the damage reduction on top of it too, and the passive healing. It's just so freaking good. Now the passive healing of course only works when the actual ability is active, so you won't get it while you're going through the base. Also gives a small damage increase too by like, what is it, damage reduction, and then the damage increases like by 50 damage, which is not that long, but the ability lasts 14 seconds, and if you can utilize that 14 seconds right, you can pretty much clear through most of a base, and then a splash damage on top of it too, so you can literally clear out multiple wall layouts. So like, it's just such a good ability. It literally gives the king damage reduction, health increase, passive healing, and also bonus damage on top of it, plus area splash. Like those 5 things are absolutely insane to give to the king, and then it becomes absolutely gigantic too. Like this is definitely the most insane hero equipment in the game. Is the most broken? No, but it is still very, very good. Now the final hero equipment and the top of S tier hero equipment is the Eternal Tome. This ability is just so strong. It's literally a must-have on the Warden, just because in Clash of Clans there's so much in the game now that literally once you get past the Town Hall, you need that Tome to clutch up, to save your heroes, save your troops, and go for the win. Because if you don't have this, it literally can make it a life or death situation. Like in the lower Town Halls, it doesn't really matter, but once you get in the higher Town Halls past Town 11, you need this actual ability, because not only predicts the troops by like 9 seconds and stuff like that, but then you can combo things on top of it too, like the Rage Jam, which of course can push to the base faster, or the Healing Tomb if the base is a lot more wider. You can actually Invincibility, not rage, heal, and then of course when they're invincible they'll be healed on top of it too, so you can literally get a full reset, and it's so much more wider than the actual heal spell. Like it's like got insane actual radius. It's like 3 times I'd say, or even 2 times the heal spell range. Like if you combine these 2 things together, it can be absolutely just a massacre to run through a base with, and that's why the Eternal Tomb is on the top of S tier, just because you can combine it with the other 2 abilities to do some insane stuff and create some great openings and plays. But that is my tier list in Clash of Clans. What do you guys think about my tier list? Do you agree with me, disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. But of course, if you do enjoy my video here today, make sure to smash the like button and get subscribed so you don't miss some future Clash of Clans content. I'll see you guys for another one. GMAN out.